Winston Churchill would never allow it. Ladies and gentlemen, 721 here, Big 550 KTRS. You don't know this, but in Fulton, Missouri is the National Churchill Museum, which is basically where the speech that defined the second half of the 20th century and ushered in the Cold War was given. History right here in Missouri. Jim Williams, Executive Director of that National Churchill Museum. Good morning, Jim. Thanks for checking in.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
How are things going down in Fulton?
They're great. We're very excited about what's happening this week.
What is happening this week?
Well, we are commemorating the 50th anniversary of Winston Churchill's death on Saturday at our campus, the National Churchill Museum at Westminster College. The British ambassador and some other special people are coming to join us and helping us have a service of remembrance.
50 years ago this week, Winston Churchill died.
That's right.
What is that, 1965 then? He lived quite a bit after the World War.
He was 90.
Wow.
Lived far longer than anybody thought he would.
Yeah. Was he penniless when he died?
I wouldn't say that, but he
got a lot of help from people.
He got help and had to write.
He had to write to survive, right?
Most of his life, he wrote to survive.
Yeah.
He didn't make money off politics or speeches, or some on speeches, but not a lot.
Right. So unlike Gorbachev today, who goes around the world making millions with speeches, Churchill never. That wasn't the world he lived in.
Well, you know how much the college paid him for the Iron Curtain speech in 1946?
This ought to be good.
They gave him a Thomas Hart Benton painting. That was what he requested. No money. He asked for a Thomas Hart Benton painting. And the college paid $150 for it.
Wow.
How much is that painting worth today?
We just got it back, actually. One of our alumni donated it back to the college. It's worth quite a lot more than that.
I would say. Now, he was a painter too, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
He was. We're actually launching a exhibit of his paintings with Washington University this fall here in St. Louis.
Any of those worth anything, or?
There was just a big auction before Christmas, his daughter's estate, and there were about 15 of his paintings, and one of them went for £1.5 million.
Okay, so that's a nice chunk of change.
$2 million.
Yeah.
Seems like you're always worth more when you're dead.
What's open to the public there this week? What can people attend?
The museum is open every day, of course, from 10 to 4:30. And on Saturday, the memorial service is open to everyone. Governor Nixon is also going to be there. It's at 10:30 in the morning. We hope people will arrive early.
Right.
And if they can't come to Fulton, it will be live streamed on our Westminster College website.
Oh,
Any
beautiful.
descendants of Churchill will be there, or have they been to the museum?
We've had a lot of... his daughter, Mary Soames, was on our board until she passed away this past year. We have a granddaughter, Edwina Sands, who's coming this weekend. She's an artist herself, did the breakthrough Berlin Wall sculpture at the museum. And his great-grandson, Duncan Sands, who lives in Atlanta, is coming.
Is there any Churchill museums in England?
There's one at the Cabinet War Rooms,
right,
which is a museum of itself, but they added a Churchill museum several years ago.
Seems like we celebrate him here more than they do over there. Is that accurate?
I wouldn't say that, but yesterday they just launched Churchill 2015. It's a big international effort to commemorate this year.
Right.
There's a lot going on. There are wreath layings in Parliament at Westminster Abbey next week. I'll be going to some of those events, and there's a lot of Churchill organizations.
Okay,
and,
but it's let me ask you this question then. It seems like they embrace what you're doing in Fulton.
Well, I think English people find it remarkable that we still remember and think so much of Churchill. It'd sort of be like going to England and having a museum about an American president,
right?
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think they're partly just fascinated by our fascination.
Right. Why are we fascinated by Churchill?
Well, in general, I mean, he was the man of the 20th century. There's that global fascination with him as a leader, as a person, as a painter, an author, all of those things. A witty, bon vivant sort of person that he was.
Right.
But he saved our bacon in World War II.
He stood up.
with Franklin Roosevelt and
Right.
others.
But he also, while U.S. was waiting to get into the war, he sort of held the finger into the dike.
He did, and manipulated as best he could the American opinion and President Roosevelt, and held like you said, held the tide back until the U.S. was drawn into the war.
Right.
Luckily, not too late.
Yeah. Was he a stutterer?
He had a speech impediment. I'm not sure I'd call it a stutter, but there were certain words and that he struggled with.
Right.
And it's interesting. He's known for his speeches, but I don't think a lot of people know what he had to overcome. But he was very conscious of that, and wrote his speeches in such a way to perform them. And
Were there certain words he couldn't say? Did he have hard times getting words out? As a stutterer, I've always looked to Winston Churchill as one of those people who, like, wow, if he can overcome it, and others can too. And I know a lot of stutterers look to him. So what was it? What did he do? I mean, did he use it in his speeches as a powerful tool, or?
I don't think there were certain words, like some people might have S's that are the problem.
Right.
I've never heard that, but he was aware that certain sound combinations
Right.
would be troublesome. So you avoid those
Right.
when you're writing. But it was also the cadence that he used. His speeches were typed out. They look like poetry.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just like Word documents we would have today.
Right.
And he had the stresses. He rehearsed also. People think that he was, with his witty comments, that these were just off the cuff.
Right.
He would have comments waiting sometimes years to find an opportunity
Wow.
to throw that zinger out at people.
So a lot of that did not come natural for him.
No, it was very much a lifelong process.
Jim Williams, our guest, executive director of the National Churchill Museum in Fulton, Missouri. The website to find out more information.
NationalChurchillMuseum.org.
And all the events, the big events, are Saturday.
For us, they're Saturday.
But the museum's open every day.
Every day except Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's.
And it is criminal that every single Missourian in Southern Illinois and doesn't go and see what this great museum is, including me. I have yet to be there.
Well, you have to come.
I know.
We're just an
I wanna
hour and a
go
half
too.
away.
I know.
I know
Hour and
it's
a
not
half.
far at all.
I know. I
Nice
drive by there every time I'm going down the lake. I'm like, I got to do that. I got to do that. I know. Don't yell at me,
You get
Jim. I'm getting
20,
there.
20 seconds off of the highway.
I would think you get a lot of school trips too.
We do. We do have wonderful school programs. We're having a speech competition as we speak this week in St. Louis and across the state, and the finals will be in Fulton next month.
Beautiful. Jim Williams, one more time, that website again.
NationalChurchillMuseum.org.
Jim Williams, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
729 here, Big 550, KTRS. Walter Knoll, ladies and gentlemen, they want to be your